Alright, 7. Logging documentation. The final step of the model premise for the documentation is extremely important, but it can be mean the difference between the model for the useful of the week and for a week or models the useful for the years to come. Through a well planned documentation is key for the youth of the analyst being able to affect the youth of the model has been spent with Howard's building sloppy incomplete documentation. On the other hand, and like finishing up otherwise well built house with a bad paint job. It can serve to cover up all the good work with the modular have done with the give it the name to give it a false impression. Bad documentation indicated the bad measurement, organization, development, and or evaluation. Fortunately, we include the planning process with good documentation, easy to produce. Once again, with the way we set up the procedure documentation, highly dependent on the purpose of the model, with the several questions of the modeler, which takes on the role of the technical writer. Most addresses to assist the end of the user. Who will be using the model? What are the users going to do with the model, and why? What are the information can I give about the model, and they might use sometime or the frustration. Our documentation consists of several different forms of the comprehensive chronological topical summary of the project as a whole. The can attribute tags which are available in the BerylCAD 6.0 or later releases, individual shape of the regions, or it can be just some of the notes helpful you the worker with the model will explain how to show the articulation. We'll go over the type of the side file with the recommendation move and to achieve the effective amount of documentation, tell what is got and what is not useful to record not only the component that they have been included with the models, even the component the details have not been included and why. When this will remove the doubt that it was under end user does not have. Tell the purpose of the model. Although the primary user end made know exactly what the intended application of the model with the documentation. Consider the possibility of the other users involved during the model lifetime. Further, these users may know the model original purpose of the main try to build in a way which is not intended. The documentation should explain what the choices of the modeler were made as well as identified if applicable to was within the model that has designated the articulation for the animation. 3. Tell when it was built. Information identified by the time period during which the model was built. The information can easily inform with the model developing items of the continuous changing of the design model specification. If the model undergo the radical design designed during any stage of the development process, if the period performance can identify that the model does not reflect and can give the redesigned components as well as identifying the changes implemented. Tell from what sources it was built. It's important not to note the type of the data for the source from which the model dimension were connected to the field. Measure for the special tool with mechanical drawing converted geometry with the modeler. Physically measure the object with the important with any specific manufacturer information and make a model of the year with the production factory. Any special designator insignificant any damage for the missing items. Tell how it was built with the information required with the significant techniques of the configuration which you would be able to give the geometry as well with the irregular specialized construction, articulation, intended ballistic impact scenarios, etc. Also conclude here basic tree structure and naming the conventions used to tell the level of the detail to which it was built. The information documentation specifically tolerance level of the accuracy of the construction model as well as ways in which the accuracy was checked, the rendering check of the rendering weight check. Documentation is often written at the end of the modeling object published for the formal terminal technical summary report. Any of the good methods of documentation, significant items that are encountered throughout the modeling process, practice records, important information while in the fresh mind of the modelers produced for the model with the writing required for the end of the project when the energy interest level may be low. Finally, a good idea to embed the documentation as a text file directly into the database. It always remains connected to the geometry it is in address. For example, the combined database binary equals to the insert union copy, insert union and combination of the documentation home Fred document text will create binary BRL binary object code documentation object will contain the text form name home/Fred docs text. Alright, these are the references, and then that concludes the chapter, the original reading from BerylCAD Tutorial C in Volume 3 Principles of Effective Modeling.